There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being dudes.
What's up and welcome into episode number 163 of the Program Guys podcast. My name is Mason Prince. Joined with you as always by Ryan Tyson, Mark Hall, Matt Gann, Patrick Ertzberger. Today is Wednesday, February 19th. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on all of our social media at Program Guys with a Z on our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. That's where you can find us. Gentlemen, we are back. All five guys, like a damn burger joint up in here. Good to have you.
That was good.
Thank you.
That was creative.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's cold and snowy in northeast Oklahoma and I think a little snowy in Norman, but the entire state of Oklahoma is about to be in the single digits the next couple days. It's going to be very cold here.
It's cold in Dallas too, but people are panicking over, I think, nothing really. It's just going to be cold. So
it was supposed to be cold today, and today it was like 48 when I got to work.
Yeah,
if it's a cold front at 48, I'm fine.
Well, yeah. It's coming in. It came in tonight, Mark. You've been outside recently, right? It's like 30. Yeah. It came through tonight. So be careful in the morning. It's gonna be chilly, but I don't think it's supposed to like ice or anything. So
has it gotten to Fort Worth yet, Matt? I feel like you're a whole state away over there. I feel like you don't really get the same weather.
Being away from RT and Mark, it definitely feels like light years away. I will agree with that. I will say, I had a long weekend with a holiday on Monday, and I feel like corporate America gets sum up with not having to work, and then everything just gets piled on top of you when you come back. So that's how I felt today. It was just an avalanche and fires to put out. But here we are.
I worked yesterday.
So did I.
Here we are.
Me too.
What are you doing here?
I'm just...
Me too.
I'll just be
you want sympathy for a day off?
Yeah.
All we asked you was how was the weather in Fort Worth, and we got
that's all we asked. That's all we asked.
Well, when five white guys talk about the weather, I mean...
All right, I'm done. Patrick, speaking of avalanches, I saw your dad post something of the like 2 feet of snow they got in a short amount of time. That's how much?
Probably around 2 feet. Yeah, in like the last 4 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Steamboat was
like
supposed to get like 60 inches of snow, like literally 5 feet of snow this week.
Holy
crazy.
Cow. Fresh pal, Pat.
Ryan, when are we going?
I know.
I wasn't. My brother's there this week. He got.
You want to get on a plane right now? Not me.
And land in snow.
Not me. Couldn't be me.
Y'all saw the Toronto one though? Oh my gosh, man. No casualties, and none of those people are working another day in their lives.
No, never. Never ever.
Never.
I think there was like 2 in critical condition, but not dead. Which who knows? But that's straight up out of
disrespectful in a few days, possibly.
Straight up out of
like critical
flight,
condition is they got like airlifted. I'm pretty sure out of there. So
I'm sure,
which is horrific.
Hopefully they're
on
okay.
its own.
But yeah, flipping over, that's intense.
Yeah,
crashing a plane and then you're taking me in the air.
Intense.
No way.
No, thank you.
Couldn't do it.
Well, you were probably like incapacitated.
Evac them here.
Yeah. Crazy stuff going on right now. Crazy stuff going on. Even crazier, the OU men's basketball team, though, we'll talk about later. They're a dumpster fire. We'll talk about them later. But first things first, boys, hopping right into it. Yes, Iggy Azalea taught us that. Kevin Wilson was hired as an analyst, offensive analyst. Former University of Tulsa head coach was just let go last season, and he now joins the Oklahoma staff, and it seems to be a very popular move amongst ball knowers.
I love it. As a preeminent ball knower in the OU community, I love it. I think that having a guy like Kevin Wilson to bolster what Ben Arbuckle is doing, to bring in ideas to what Ben Arbuckle is doing, but to not have his hands all over every part of the offense and to not have his hands on every single player on the offense is actually probably a perfect place for him to be at this point in his career. The head coaching move didn't work perfectly well. And I'm sure that he could have gone and gotten an offensive coordinator position, but it seems like he wants to take a step back, maybe learn some things from the 29-year-old offensive coordinator at the University of Oklahoma. And I think it's going to be super beneficial for the staff in place now. This is exactly the kind of coach that you want helping Brent Venables when he's got himself at DC and, like I said, a 29-year-old at offensive coordinator. I think it's a great hire.
I would agree, as also a ball knower and have being a longtime OU fan. Kevin Wilson coming home, obviously coaching along Brett from 2002 to 2010 before departing, like Mark said, to take the head coaching job at Indiana. But really like what Wilson brings. I mean, he was a Broyles Award winner in 2008 for being the top assistant coach while at OU. So that type of knowledge and obviously familiarity with what BB is looking to do. I think it's just a great combination. Love the hire. I think it's just making the staff even better and better. Again, going into a very pivotal year, as we've talked about before.
You guys do know ball, but Patrick's the number one ball knower. Pat,
He is.
your thoughts?
He is.
Well, it's really funny because I forgot. It's funny you say that. I forgot the name of the offensive analyst who left to Oklahoma State.
Matt Wells. I don't think he went to Oklahoma State.
K-State.
I think
K-State.
Yeah.
K-State.
That was 2 years ago, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, who was the guy who kind of stepped in as quarterback coach after Seth Luttrell left?
Oh, Kevin Johns. He's gone.
Kevin Johns.
Yeah.
He went to
Yes,
Oklahoma
you're right.
State. Yeah.
You're right.
And
Okay.
I was trying to research his
Good
name,
call.
but Oklahoma State is
Ball
just
knower,
so
Patrick.
relevant.
Too basic.
Anyways,
Ball knower. Ball knower.
ball knower.
Ball knower.
But I was trying to research Kevin Johns' name, but Oklahoma State is so irrelevant that Kevin Wilson just kept pulling up as the Oklahoma new analyst. So, anyways, an irrelevant program Oklahoma State is. I like the Kevin Wilson hire, and I like it because we just need shakeup in that room, as much shakeup as possible in just like the Oklahoma offense. I would love if, someone left and he got a position coach role because our position coaches suck. I'm just happy
Ben
he's here.
Arbuckle is the quarterback coach.
Yeah, besides Ben Arbuckle, but I'm just happy that we have another person in the room here because last year was so atrocious.
Ball knower Pat.
Yeah,
Go
Ball
ahead,
knower,
Ryan.
Pat. There you go. I think.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, no, I mean, I agree with everybody. I think this is good. I think this is, I like Kevin Wilson a lot. So I love what he did at OU back in the days. He was around with like Sammy B and stuff, right? Early Sammy B.
Around
So yeah,
I thought it was
I-
earlier, but maybe I'm wrong.
wasn't it like 2007, 2006, or no? Was it earlier than that?
Well, he won the Broyles Award in 2008, but he was there from 2002 to 2010.
Okay, so yeah, he was right around that time.
Good stuff. Back in with the Wikipedia.
Yeah, so I like that. To me, this reads as like BV knows this is his year, right? He's bringing in all the guns. He's bringing in everybody.
Yeah.
You have to make this year successful, or else there's not going to be a next year for him. So I think so far I like the hire, and we'll see if it pans out.
There's no shame in the bringing in more
No.
seasoned football minds. There's no shame in that game. Look at how Kirby Smart and Georgia and Nick Saban's Alabama teams, how they were built. They had D1 coaches with resumes being special teams analysts. That's an extreme example, but you get the picture, right? Like, just get the dudes in the building. It's not going to make it worse. So just get those guys in here. And to Mark's point exactly, with Brent having to focus so much on the defense, his fault, the hand up, his fault. But he's having to focus so much on the defense. Why not just keep bringing offensive minds in and being like, look, man, Arbuckle runs the show, but you're there to help out. You're there to do whatever he needs. And Kevin Wilson is a seasoned enough guy where I don't think he's going to be butthurt if he's not running the show. Like, he just got fired from a head coaching gig. He's trying to rebuild an image. What better way to rebuild an image than kind of get more offensive firepower, more offensive ideas under a young gun, and then try to go take that somewhere else for another job in a year or two? I think it's a great call.
And I think it's not an accident that Kevin Wilson sort of came up at Oklahoma at the same time that Brent Venables came up at Oklahoma. and can probably speak to him in a way that Ben Arbuckle is just not going to speak to him.
Sure.
And that's going to be beneficial too. That's going to be beneficial for game time decisions, for time management decisions, and for pushing back or agreeing with if Ben Arbuckle is doing something, the head coach wouldn't do. Brent's not always got the right idea about these things. And I think having Kevin Wilson on the microphone during game days is going to be a great call.
Yeah, he has head coaching experience. Like, this is a plus.
Yeah.
Like, while it wasn't maybe successful at Tulsa like he wanted it to be, like, this is still somebody with head coaching experience. And like you guys have already mentioned, Brett is going to be tied in with the defense so much that he's even going to be maybe potentially less focused on some of the head coaching duties that he needs to do, time management, things along those lines. So I think I completely agree, Mark. I think it's good to have somebody in your ear with already that experience being like, hey, you need to remember to do this. Hey, don't forget about this. Hey, take this time out. So
yeah.
Last
And
thing,
go ahead, Pat.
he was a tight ends coach for multiple years at multiple places and was at Ohio State for a while as well, which obviously is a good thing at this point.
Yeah, it's to do with a resume.
You saying tight ends coach, man. That sounds pretty hot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joe John's still around.
Somehow.
He's got a resume.
Somehow, dude.
He
no
has
idea.
something.
He's definitely got something.
I think we didn't worry about losing DeMarco until after the spring game last year. So there's hope.
Sure. You're not wrong. Let us know down below in the comments your thoughts. Kevin Wilson hired as an offensive analyst. We read every single one of your comments. Let us know. Okay, OU Athletics made $2.6 million in profit in 2024, $208 million in operating costs, and then $206 million in nope. 208 in revenue, 206 in operating expenses. I apologize for the mix-up. OU has long touted this stat of basically being in the black for their athletics department. They've been saying that for over 20 years now. It feels like, at least. They're one of the few schools that does that. Texas being another one. I don't know the other ones as well, but I mean, this has got to be good, especially when you hear, people start grumbling about Joe C, and they're starting to get a little grumpy about the AD, and I don't know. Stuff like this makes everyone feel a little bit better. Maybe. I mean, it's not money we see, but the school, I guarantee Harrow's likes it because he doesn't have to cut a check to the athletic department.
It's tough because we don't know an alternative.
Sure.
All of us have only ever known Joe Castiglione, and we've only ever known an Oklahoma athletics program that is going to bring in a couple $1 million every year. Same time, softball made more than both men's and women's basketball combined last year. Men's basketball has to be a revenue driver. It has to be. It is for almost all of the schools that have it in the country. It has to be. And I think that when you dig deeper, top line numbers, making money off athletics is big. That's a good thing. That's a win. It has to be set up front. But you dig into some of the specifics when it comes to the sports, and we are underserving our basketball program. That just is the case. I know we're going to talk more about the specifics of the team right now later, but we're underserving that program on both sides of the ball. And especially on the women's side, I think it's egregious because that is a team that has been successful. And while it might be struggling right now, has shown an ability to have success under Jenny Baranczyk. And if you want to run someone out of town, it's by not giving them resources. So that part is a little bit concerning. Otherwise, man, I think it is a great illustration in how tight the margins are. You made $208 million in revenue, but it took 206 to get there.
Yeah.
So 2.6 is very good, but that doesn't pay for a football roster. So you're going to have more external funding coming in too. It's a really interesting game.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have past reports? Have they done this publicly in the past?
I don't know. I know they very happily tout when they're not in the red.
Yeah.
I know
It's a
that, but I
public
don't.
university.
Yeah.
It's out there.
I mean, I feel
I
like
don't
it's
know the
gonna be out
numbers,
there.
but
So I'm curious on like what this compares to previous years. I also think, doesn't this account for only half of the SEC revenue or something like that? Didn't we take like a cut or something for the first couple years? Or am I dreaming for
no, you're
joining the
right. We
SEC?
have a reduced split for the first some number of years, but I don't know what that number is
Got it.
necessarily.
Okay. So, I think I'm curious on like 2.6. I'm very glad we're profitable. To me, 2.6 in the era of quarterbacks getting like $5 to $6 million NIL deals is like not that great. But I also like I have nothing to compare it to.
Hmm.
So I don't know like what kind of cost cutting measures they're doing, what kind of revenue, like what kind of donors, what kind of,
Come on
foundations
in,
they're
Elon.
looking at. No, I mean like I'm curious about all that kind of stuff that we might not have like all of the information for. But if you compare it to like Texas, which spent 325 million and made 7 million of profit. So, like, which it makes sense, Texas being higher than us, just the branding, the amount of people that go there, the just all of it is just bigger. And I think like,
Well, the college football playoff definitely helped too
and
with that for
yeah,
them.
and that also helped too.
Mm.
So, I mean, I think I don't know. I don't know what to say about the 2.6 number because I'm like, how did we compare to last year when we were in the Big 12? Was moving to the SEC a mistake from a financial standpoint when everyone said it was going to be? I'm not sure.
Pat, go ahead, man.
Ohio State lost 12 million. I don't know if that was their athletics program or their football program. Um, but
Yeah,
yeah,
they
it's
had a
funny.
$20 million roster. Isn't that what everyone says? But they got
Is
the
this counted in
championship.
that? Do we think this is counted in that?
No.
That's what I don't know. Like, what's included
See,
in
I
that two
think
point two
to
hundred
this
and six
point,
million?
to this point, it's all been collective run, right? And
Mhm.
then at some point, we're going to move to this profit sharing model.
Mm-hmm.
At which point it'll be counted in that. But I don't think the football numbers, I don't think the NIL numbers, to be clear, are
Yeah,
counted in this just yet.
I
Mm,
wouldn't think they would be.
okay. Yeah, I just got an email the other day from Joe C talking about um the new law passing and what that all means and stuff like
Sorry,
that.
man. You ain't getting money from me.
No, I
Oh
was
man.
like,
Well,
Sorry, dude.
okay. While we're sorry, does anyone have anything else
Yeah,
on the
go
on
ahead,
the
Matt. Do you want to hop in there? Okay. Mark, you had a good tweet about the $100 thing. Go ahead. Go off, King.
the $100 thing? Oh, just them trying to get. Oh, yes, I did have a good
Sorry.
tweet. You're right.
Sorry.
No, you're right. If you took $100 from every Sooner Club member, you not even paying for John Mateer this year. Those emails are not going to be what gets Oklahoma football across the finish line. I need Joe Castiglione to become best friends with Clay Bennett. I need him to become best friends with every single family that has a named building on the freaking campus because that's who's going to get you your guys. What's the Headington guy's first name? Call him up. The building
Mhm.
isn't enough. It's not enough anymore. I'm sorry. It is a wonderful building. We need more.
Yeah.
There are much larger universities like Texas. That's $325 million on their athletics department. Doesn't include NIL. What do you think NIL is? Much higher because they've got more of these big dogs. We don't have that. So you got to become really good pals with the ones who are and get them to start giving money because the selective thing that we're doing, look, it works if everything goes right, but we're just getting less and less bites at the apple because we don't have the cash that we need to go attack these things. And I promise you, $100 from me is not going to get us there. Even on a subscription basis, that's not going to get us there. You got to start talking exponentially higher. And so I'm sure Joe C can walk and chew gum at the same time, but these emails are not going to be the way we get there. I just don't see it.
we just need a billionaire alumni. That's what we need. That's what all the cool schools have.
Well, and I know we have some.
They got to be there somewhere.
Patrick, how close are you to $1 billion?
Pretty far.
Oh, okay.
Pretty far.
Fair enough. Fair
Right.
enough.
Adding Becca?
Yeah. Adding,
A little closer, still pretty far. Look, also, but let's say I had $1 billion right now. I think you got to give it now too, because this is Brent's last year, and if you don't make something change now, or like maybe 6 months ago, I'm talking 6 months ago, you should have done it now.
I think that's the thing. Sorry to interrupt, Pat.
It's Brent's last year, so you either fix the team this year and you gave this year, or you're going to be spending more next year.
Well, that's a good point, too.
That's a really good point.
Because you're covering a buyout that's insane, in addition to a coach, in addition to a roster.
Yeah. And you're about to pay Porter Moser's buyout.
Truly.
So I hope they paid up last year. I mean, I don't think they did. We got John Mateer. That was a good get. That was a lot of money.
Had to get that. Yeah.
Had to have it.
Go ahead, Matt, as our resident numbers guy. What you got?
I mean, this is just the ever changing landscape of now college football, but all athletic programs is you have to have more money each and every year to continue to compete at a high level. I mean, that's exactly what Ohio State did. They're in a total deficit, but did they win a national championship in football? Probably the biggest revenue generator of any athletic sport. They sure did. Those are the types of links that these universities are going to have to go through to be able to push their limits on their roster and get the guys they want into the room. So these numbers are just going to continue to grow exponentially over the years because you're just going to have to continue to pay to compete, unfortunately, in the world we live in.
Yeah, I agree. Anybody else on this topic before we move on here? Because
the Thunder are not the reason. The Oklahoma City Thunder are not the reason. You can the people with money can put money towards going to the Thunder games and buying their suites and buying their courtside tickets, and also put money towards the Oklahoma football program. It's such a terrible straw man. I hate it so much.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
I mean, I think the rich.
Wait, can we back up? Sorry, let's give context.
Context.
Oh, so it's something that's been smoke to the fire online. Is that like, oh, the Thunder are good, so money is going towards there, and attention is being spent there, and rightfully bodies are there instead of resources and bodies and eyes on the Oklahoma Athletics over here. And my thing is, again, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. The KD Thunder was more successful than we've seen this Thunder team be. And that Oklahoma football team was more successful than we've seen this Oklahoma football team be. So we can do both things.
And basketball at that point.
And basketball at that point. Blake Griffin.
Yeah, also, my point, Mason, what's your favorite basketball team?
Boston Celtics.
Mark.
Houston Rockets.
Ryan.
San Antonio Spurs.
Matt.
The Thunder, baby.
1/5. That's what I'm like. I don't care if the Thunder are good. And yes, like obviously a lot of OU fans are Thunder fans, but not all of them.
Well,
I agree with Patrick.
It's the only professional team in the state of Oklahoma.
Yeah, but it's not ruining OU athletics.
No, but here's
I agree with that. It's not ruining
OU. To completely to Mark's point and to Pat's, the people making hundreds of millions of dollars a year, they're not gifting that to the Thunder.
No.
You're not gifting the Loves family, has Loves Loud City. That's not a big check, not as big of a check as Loves Field was. Like there's a difference. There's different levels to the money in terms of a professional aspect and a college aspect.
It's a professional organization. It's completely different than a
they're going off of they're going off of ad revenue, whereas Oklahoma's asking for people to cut checks. Like Loves gets something out of it being called Loves Loud City. Like they get that. Or the Paycom Center gets something out of it being called Paycom. Like OU is asking people almost like nameless, faceless, like give us money. And sometimes that may be a harder sell. I get it. But that's the game we're playing. That's what we're in.
I think we are single-digit years away from the Bob Moore starting quarterback.
Sure.
From the
Well, I agree.
But this is like,
you know what I mean? Like each of these things are going to be sponsored in such a way that that company gets its name on the big board anytime the starters are announced, anytime a guy makes a play. And then they're going to be investing in that player to make plays.
Yep.
I mean, my wife is a Baylor fan. So like they recently built that new stadium, that new basketball stadium. And it's literally called like the Laura Hurd or Paul Hurd or something like that. Like stadium. It is literally like two rich people who are like, here, we're giving you all of this money. Yep. And then two more rich people came in and said, we want our name on the floor. And so we'll give you all of this money. Like that's the stuff that we
it's going to have to be.
Like
private
that's
school,
like
man.
where are they? Like Baylor is, yes, a private Christian organization, but it's also significantly smaller than the University of Oklahoma. Right. So like where are our people?
Sometimes quality over quantity, you know what I mean?
Like is Josie not a good enough salesman? Like what's happening here? Like we gotta
Well, that's the thing. I'd love some more clarity into how any of this happens. I feel like we just don't know.
I know.
And I don't know that anyone knows, right? It just sucks.
Sure. Yep. Let us know down below in the comments your thoughts about how to get more money. Also, if you're Joe Castiglione, let us know down in the comments how you sell to these people. How do you get money? We'd love to hear from you. All right, Matt, we want to circle the wagons real quick, brother.
We sure can. We'll go ahead and start off with the hottest news coming from OU Athletics. Let's go ahead and start with OU's men's basketball, who recently lost to LSU, who came into conference play 1-10 in the SEC. So bottom of the conference. OU was up 13 points at halftime and then blew a 5-point lead with less than 30 seconds left in the game. So a complete meltdown, and maybe just the kind of emphasis on the season that OU is having at this point. They're 3-8 in conference play. I still saw something that they are on the bubble watch of the last 4 in. I'm not exactly sure who's projecting that at this point, but they're also currently playing number 2 Florida. I'm not sure what the score is, but I think
I can tell you what the score is if you want me to.
Sure, go ahead.
It's halftime, Florida 46, OU 24.
Okay. Well, so they're seeing themselves
they're
out.
almost covering.
But after the LSU game and after the meltdown of the last 30 seconds and losing that game, it was announced that Porter Moser will be no longer with the program, as they are actually playing in Gainesville. So obviously he did not make the plane trip out there.
This was like reported by who? I thought you were kidding. I saw
Eric.
This.
I think it was Eric Bailey of the Tulsa World that I saw that he was not going to be there. I'm pretty sure.
No, he made the trip.
Did he? Okay. Well,
Hell
that's
yeah,
on from Eric Bailey. So I'm not sure if it was premature or not, but I thought someone put it in the Twitter group too.
Good podcast.
They open. OU decided to release Porter Moser's contract, which means the open records request was approved. So it showed that Moser is making $3.3 million a year, which they were waiting to find out. And his buyout is the same as Brent Venables' $7.5 million.
Gotcha. Well,
so
I'm
he is
actually
not fired.
surprised.
No, he's not.
I guess there was a lot of smoke that he should have been fired.
I mean, he might be after tonight. He might be after tonight.
Nah, they'll keep him through the year.
They'll
fire him when they miss the tournament.
Here's my thing, and I'm sorry, Matt. Just real quick.
Take over, King.
I feel as though on this podcast, we've all tried to voice our support for Porter Moser over the years. And we've said, you got to support this guy. He doesn't have enough support. Go out and support this team. Go do that. Go do this. Buy tickets. Support the team. Well, when you don't make the effing tournament and you're 1-10 in SEC play after starting 13-0 or whatever it was, I can't defend you anymore. I can't. People bitching about people not going to games, and all due respect to Dari Noka, I love Dari Noka. Like, SEC fans go out and support. No, you know what real fans do? Let you know when the product is dog shit. And the OU fans are letting you know that the product is dog shit. It's bad. I don't give a damn about those players going out there and trying their hardest because they're losing games to bad teams.
You're getting
Those teams don't deserve support. They don't. Neither does the coach. You want a new arena? Go win some games. Stop being 1-10 in conference play and losing to LSU, who hadn't won a game in a month. They hadn't won in a month. They're bad. OU is bad. I'm sick of it. I can't defend him anymore. I can't. If you want to get at the podium and bitch and moan about how you don't have enough support and your team doesn't have enough money and you need a new arena, all that, win games. Win games. Because you don't. And that's why you're going to be jobless. I'm sorry. You are. And I'm over it.
It's a great point because I do feel in his first and second year, there was more support for the basketball team compared to how good they have been, right? So, like, yeah, people were filling out the study stadium when Trae Young and Buddy were there. But for this average or bad team, there has been more support than past average and bad teams in Norman. And it's year 3. So you can't be losing when you're up in the fourth quarter. You can't be 1-10. You're right. You can't. But I also don't think Oklahoma's going to buy out their basketball coach for $7 million because they don't put money into basketball.
That's a good point.
So like, if you're not going to put $7 million into locker room renovations, you're not going to put $7 million into buying out your coach. I mean,
but I think
you shouldn't.
I think it has to come down to it's not just, if you're looking at it from a math perspective, I think you're right, Patrick, where they're just kind of cheap when it comes to basketball, obviously. So, but you got to think about how this is impacting just like culture and brand and other things like that. Like, this is a horrible team and like a very bad team. And this is your first year in the SEC. I mean, and I know the SEC is having like a crazy successful year in basketball and they're really good this year. But like, you have a product in football that did not live up to expectations. And then you have a product in basketball that started really strong and then completely fell off a cliff the same way it has the last 3 years under the same coach. I think if you're Joe C and you don't make a change, I think what you're saying is that like we're not willing to look at this and see how bad of a product this is and do anything about it. We really only care that this is an expensive buyout, so we're just going to keep him. Like I think that's really, and like I'm going to say the word dangerous. I don't mean like literally dangerous, but like culturally dangerous to your brand in a very vulnerable time for that brand.
We got Trae Young going to an All-Star game wearing OU gear. I feel bad for him. Like, don't wear that. Don't embarrass yourself. You're better than that.
If you don't fire him, you leave him with basically no ability to really recruit for the future. It's been that level of bad since it was pretty good this season. This team finds ways to lose games they should win. And what player wants to come be a part of that? You have a top 10 pick in Jeremiah Fears. Yeah. How is this team not a lock for the tournament? How are we on any sort of bubble? It's a tough set of circumstances that I do think a better coach would be able to get himself through. And it's at the same time as basketball doesn't have resources, and you can't separate them. It just cannot be done. And given the resources he does have, which this year is a top 10 pick, it has to be better. And you have to make an attempt to make it better. And so I'd be fine firing him midseason. I understand if they don't. I imagine the buyout drops by a little bit once you get to the offseason, but it's time. It's just time.
Yeah.
Sorry, Matt. Back to you.
No, I appreciate you guys correcting me. I guess I was just so ready for him to leave. I didn't think he would make the trip, but there's only a few more games left in the season before the SEC tournament rolls around, so we'll see if he ends up making the tournament or not. But let's flip it over to a women's program who have now won 3 straight in the SEC. The Oklahoma women, on the other side of things, recently beat Missouri with a really strong third quarter push. Ended up winning 82-66. They had 5 girls in double digit, led by Peyton with 15. They will take on Vandy in Arkansas. Again, they have about, I think, 3, maybe 4 games left before the postseason tournament comes into play. Shifting over to OU men's gym, 10-1. They recently beat Michigan and Simpson over this past weekend. They will play in the Winter Cup, I believe, in Louisville, Kentucky. Should get some more updates from that over the weekend. Women's gym suffering their first loss of the season to number 2 LSU, the defending champions, who they did beat earlier in the year in Oklahoma City, where a couple teams were invited to come. Very thin razor margins decided this one, so I assume both of these teams will be in the finals or in the running to compete for the national championship at the end of the year. Men's tennis and women's tennis did not play over the past week. They'll play SEC play this weekend. And wanted to recap with our finalized OU softball, currently 10-0 in the country. They are number 2 behind number 1 Texas. They recently competed in the Getterman Classic against Hostruff and Baylor, where they played each team twice and run ruled each team in the 4 games. So they had a heck of a weekend. Just wanted to read off some stats to you guys so far. Hofstra, yeah. Hofstra.
It's the vowels.
What'd you say, Hofster?
This team has not skipped a beat, even with the senior class that left. Let me read off the stats through the first 10 games. Out of the 10 wins, 5 run rule wins, 86 runs scored, 15 runs allowed, 19 home runs, which includes a couple grand slams, 5 shutouts, 3 errors, 78 strikeouts through 66 innings. It has been another dominant run. Now, again, haven't played maybe as tough as competition as maybe other SEC opponents, but you really like to see this young staff, especially on really the defense, the pitching, and the batting. Really didn't know what OU had. They had obviously a lot of talent, but had to replace quite a bit from years prior. I think the pitching staff has probably been the most surprising. They were definitely the biggest question mark coming into this year. And so far, they've probably been the biggest strength with the transfers and the freshmen that have been playing. They have been really lights out. They already have 2 5-inning perfect games in 10 games this season. So they are really locking it down in a circle. We'll just have to see as they continue to play better competition and enter SEC play. Is that going to continue to hold up? But I think what you've wanted to see out of OU softball is what fans want to make sure can continue throughout the year as they go for potentially their 5th consecutive title, which is still nuts to say at this point. So definitely a good start for OU softball as they will play. Let me see who they have upcoming. Yeah, they'll play in the Norman tournament against Abilene Christian, Bowling Green, and Wichita State, Tulsa, and Marshall in all back-to-back games before taking on a 3-game series in Kansas. So good luck to OU softball and some of these other competing athletics. Let's circle the wagons.
Did you say baseball's 3-0?
I didn't give a baseball update, but yes, they just started and they are 3-0. They beat Lehigh, I believe, twice, and somebody else, I think, but they just got started.
They had a Lehigh doubleheader. They had a 3-game series against Lehigh that they swept. The game tomorrow against UT Arlington is postponed. That's in Arlington. I don't know why that's postponed.
Because
I guess for weather.
They're expecting weather to be bad, man.
No, it's not gonna be.
Maybe it's a travel for OU, like getting down.
That could be a thing.
Maybe that's the thing. I don't really know.
I also wonder, like, how cold do baseball players play in?
Where are they playing it? Where are they playing?
They're playing it
It's in
at the Rangers Stadium.
Yeah,
at
it's
the Rangers
inside.
Stadium.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a travel problem. That's a travel
It's
problem.
got to be a travel problem.
Yeah.
I would think. I agree. I think it's a travel problem. But OU baseball to look out for. They have had obviously a pretty strong.
I think they're number
start to the
20
season, but they're they're top 20 right now, and their starting pitching is going to be dynamite. I think
The brothers are raw. The brothers are good.
Yeah.
That's going to be
crazy. SEC's crazy, man.
I know.
Yeah.
It's going to be. It's good. If you haven't watched OU baseball, it's going to be a really fun year to watch them. If you can go to L. Dale Mitchell, I'm going to try to go this spring, just because I want to go so bad. They're going to be a fun team to watch. They're going to be a lot.
Mason, back to your point on like basketball doesn't deserve our sport. Baseball does.
Baseball does.
And
Baseball does.
we need more people to roll out to those games because I don't think a lot of people roll out to those games, and people roll out to SEC baseball games like LSU and Arkansas. And all
they
that.
do better. In my experience, when Big 12 play starts, people are more involved. But like it's SEC play now, obviously, and I think more people are going to be even in it because you're right, Ryan. Those Arkansas sells out every game.
Mm-hmm.
They sell out every home baseball game. Texas A&M sells out every home baseball game. Those SEC schools like care. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, that's the real deal. Florida's a big baseball school as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait. Georgia's good every now and then too.
It'll be a gauntlet.
Going to be a gauntlet. Should be fun. Okay, wrap up the show. PGP MVP. Let's do it. Go ahead, Pat. Who's your MVP, man?
Yeah, Pat. Let's hear it.
Patrick.
I'm gonna go with John Mateer because there's just more and more like videos of him. I don't know, he like got a truck recently, and he just seems like a normal guy who's good at talking, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited for it. I feel like I can sense the leadership in him.
Good pick.
MVP.
Good vibes out of John Mateer.
Positive vibes. Matt, who's your MVP?
I'm going to go the All-Star Weekend for the NBA is my LVP.
Oh,
There
okay.
it is.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Great
As the
setup.
years continue to go on, just gets worse and worse of a product. It almost becomes a theatrical music performance versus the NBA All-Stars getting it together and playing and seeing the talent. The dunk contest is obviously not what it used to be. The guy who's won in consecutive years has made more money doing dunk contests than actual his NBA salary. I mean, if that tells you anything, that just shows you that it's not like a LeBron or some of these high-profile NBA players taking part in these competitions, and the product itself is just terrible. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. They need to revive and reamp and do something different. And maybe that's across other, or not just NBA in particular, but man, it's really hard to watch. I watched maybe like 20 minutes and it was just Kevin Hart rambling for that 20 minutes. So not worth it. LVP, NBA All-Star Weekend.
I heard a really good take about why the All-Star game sucks. And it's that teams are shooting so many three-pointers. The game now, if you're going to be an all-star, is to shoot three-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't build for a very exciting all-star game. No one's going at each other. No one's in the post. No one's driving like they really want to hurt someone. Just a different basketball game we have now.
I agree. I can agree with that.
Boring.
Agreed.
Classic.
I can go next.
Go ahead, man.
My MVP is actually Patrick.
Wow.
Because I wasn't here last week, and that was the week after the Super Bowl, and him correctly predicting what was going to happen in the Super Bowl is just like incredibly impressive. And I don't know how you keep doing this, Patrick. I just don't understand. You just know but you don't at the same time. And I love you, but like it is unbelievable.
Oh my God.
It's unbelievable. I don't know how it works. So
The Kevin Johns thing earlier.
yeah.
Kevin Johns.
MVP to Patrick.
Yeah.
Pat knows ball, man.
He really
That
does.
was ball.
Certified ball knower, man. Mark, who's your MVP, dude?
Yeah, I'm going to go real fast. OU freshman wrestler Jacob Henry is walking on to the football team as a defensive tackle under the tutelage of Todd Bates. This is the son of former WWE heavyweight champion of the world, Mark Henry, a Texas grad, but Texas doesn't have a wrestling program. So they don't get the walk-on privileges. Now, in all likelihood, the defensive line is a very strong point for the Oklahoma football team, and Jacob Henry never hits the field. That said, a guy coming from wrestling is going to have an advanced sense of leverage and an advanced sense of hand usage and fighting with his hands. And I'm very excited to see if that comes to fruition in any kind of way. If not, he's still at least beating up on some offensive linemen, and that's going to make those guys better. I like it a lot. MVP, Jacob Henry.
Perfect. My MVP is John Henry, the owner of the Boston Red Sox. He actually spent money and got Alex Bregman,
the cheater.
Yeah, got the cheater. He's on the Red Sox
Patrick
now, but
Red
now
Sox don't have
there's
problems with that.
Now there's drama within the Red Sox organization about Rafael Devers, who was the incumbent third baseman. Yeah, and Rafael Devers saying that he's not going to DH, and if he's going to DH, then you might as well trade him. And the season hasn't even started yet. And Alex Bregman, being a professional, saying, I'll play whatever they want me to. And Rafael Devers saying, I'm only playing third base is just amazing. If you know anything about Rafael Devers, that's just kind of the guy he is. But
he really is.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. But yeah, baseball season on the way. First time in a few years, I've actually been excited for a baseball season for the Red Sox. They have been a joke, and now they actually look like they're going to field a team this year. That'll be exciting.
Rangers
good.
Up.
Hell yeah.
So random.
I know. Baseball is random. It is indeed. That's going to do it. Episode 163 is in the books. Be sure to like, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Find us on all of our social media.
Still
Program
here.
Guys with a Z. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you find us. That's where you can listen. That's going to do it. Pat, take us out.
Keep pushing it, baby.
3, 2, 1.
There's not one guy, one person in the history of this program that's bigger than the program.
What's better than this? Guys being